Doing much better. Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Hope you had a great Memorial Day weekend. There was certainly lots to do and talk about.
Yes, there was, and hopefully everyone remembers why we celebrate Memorial Day. It's to remember the people that have died for our country and our freedoms that we take for granted every single day.
Yeah, Jesse Waters on Waters World did a man on the street type thing of going out to look like Jones Beach and Coney Island, asking kids about Memorial Day and what it was. And it was if you were a teacher and you watch any of them, you should be embarrassed.
What did they think Memorial Day was?
None of them knew. They just got these blank stares, and other than to celebrate, go to the beach and have a barbecue or something was about it. Nobody. I think there was one guy that seemed to have some sort of a clue as to what it was and why we were celebrating, or why we were remembering it. When you say celebrate Memorial Day, that's kind of a misnomer to a degree. It's a remembering of those who gave their lives for our country and for our freedoms that we enjoy, and that most of these idiots take for granted.
Yes, well, I definitely feel like we are getting less free.
In fact, one of my favorite images that a friend of mine sent me on Instagram yesterday was your day at the beach, and it showed all these people, just at the beach having a good time, and then it showed a picture of D-Day and their day at the beach. Mm-hmm. And their day at the beach allowed you to do your day at the beach. And these people haven't got a clue. And it's sad. And pretty soon, it's bad enough that we're having trouble recruiting members of the military. But when you have the same time that these teachers that are telling people how bad America is, it's no wonder that they don't know. We're not giving them any history or anything else.
Well, I also think that they're not taught patriotism, and
no,
generationally, I will say, in my family, we are the first generation of children that have not been in the service. And I think that is, I don't know that it's the best thing, because I do think that there's something to be taught for the sacrifice that your family has to make for someone to be in the service, regardless if you're married to someone or it's your father. And the generation of grandkids that we are, mm-hmm. we will never have to sacrifice as much as people that have been in the military.
Exactly right. And I was in the service right toward the end of Vietnam. I was in the Vietnam era, did not go to Vietnam, was not deployed, and so I had a relatively great time in the military. My dad served in World War II, never saw combat, even though he was in combat zones. He was in the Coast Guard, and they were out on the high seas somewhere where they could run across the German wolf pack at any time or something like that, and going into areas that were war zones or under attack at some point, but never, fortunately, got an actual active combat duty.
But still a huge sacrifice.
Without a doubt. Yeah, I left his job here as the manager of the Lucas and Jenkins theaters here, which were 3 theaters downtown at the time. The Lucas is still there. The Avon and the Bijou are not. But he served honorably, rose to the rank of lieutenant commander, and was an executive officer on 2 or 3 cutters during the war, and generally just had a good time. They were but very diligent as to what they were doing on all the duty stations that they went to. So the sacrifices that were made, came back, got his job back with the Lucas people, and went on with his life, and had me, and got married to Mom, and married me. It actually did it in the right order. Married Mom, then about a year later, I came along. So, and that was and I was their only child. So they said, look at me and said, one's enough. As the old saying goes, the guy said one time, I said, I asked his parents, am I adopted? They said, of course not. You don't think we'd have picked you. Well, it's one of those deals. Nevertheless, The sacrifices that our World War II people made. My two uncles, Fred and Jack, were in the Navy. My stepfather, Henry Jenkins, was also in the Coast Guard. So a lot of military background, and I had served in the U.S. Army as a signal officer, getting to the rank of captain. And my military duty is totally unspectacular. I got the National Defense Medal. You get that for showing up. You're welcome.
But I think it's the willingness to make the sacrifice.
Oh, absolutely.
What you're getting into, and I think that that's really where I have a lot of respect for anyone that joins the military, because it's a very difficult thing, especially because depending on what branch you're in too. Like I know that when my dad was in the Army, it was the drills, the commitment that you have to take to stay in shape, and what that looks like. I mean, it's a very taxing job.
Well, that was one of the things, Brittany, that Pete Hegseth had a special on Fox News last night about Royal Warriors, and that we're lowering the standards. That they are trying to say that that women can compete, can be Rangers and can be SEALs and all that sort of stuff. No, you can't. I'm sorry.
I disagree as well. I'm a traditionalist.
They've lowered the standards so much that because the kids coming in now are in such bad shape. And if you're going to be a Ranger, you're going to be a SEAL. You really have to be in super good shape. Of the 100 people that try out to become SEALs, only 3 make it as a general rule. Green Beret is the same for the Army.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I'm sorry. A lot of times I prefer a male in most of those emergency situations. I feel like, if I need to be carried out of somewhere, I'm hoping that a man shows up.
Exactly, and that was, there were about, this has been years ago, but some firefighters in Los Angeles either got reprimanded or fired because they released training videos of the females that were applying. They couldn't pick up the ladders. They were falling. The ladder was falling over. They couldn't carry anybody out that weighed over 100 pounds of buildings. And they released this footage, sent this footage to the media. And of course, the media and the Los Angeles Fire Department bureaucrats and all that just had a cow. And said, how dare you show the truth to the public.
Yeah, I mean, turns out there are 2 genders, and there are differences, Bill. It's amazing.
Yeah, if you look at the Bible, it said God created male and female. I don't see any asterisks there, and Democrats created the other 87.
Yes, well, and I just think that we need to be realistic. I think women can do a lot of things that men can do, but as far as the physical aspect of it, it's just, we are made up totally different.
A lot of things that women can do better than men. Usually sometimes a female surgeon, I think we have 2 or 3 female trauma surgeons here in Savannah. And
Smaller hands.
Smaller hands, quicker decisions sometimes. Their skills are beyond reproach.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that we just need to recognize that there are differences, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you yesterday? Because I saw these photos that you brought in this morning, and it was beautiful.
Take a look. The Mighty 8th Air Force Museum 3 years ago started something called Flags of the Fallen. The Mighty 8th Air Force is one of the reasons that we won World War II. And the Mighty 8th was started right here in Savannah. The Mighty 8th Air Force Museum is located in Pooler. They're right now under a huge expansion project where they're going to be upgrading a lot of their stuff. This is the garden area and the back, basically the backyard. As you walk outside from the exhibit hall where the B-17, the city of Savannah, sits. Fully restored B-17, by the way. It is beautiful if you've never been there. And we're going to be talking to some people tomorrow who said they live here and they'd never been there, but they put out there, they put 26,000 American flags, 48-star American flags, because in World War II there were only 48 states. Hawaii and Alaska didn't come along until 1959. So, but over 10 years after the war was over. But each one of those flags represents a Mighty 8th Air Force man, basically, who died. 26,000. No other group, including the Marines, gave that many during the war. And every one of those flags, you get an appreciation of how much 26,000 is. We did not show you any shot twice. We'll show you some more tomorrow. Talk to some of the people who were there, local people who said they'd never been to the 98th before, even though they'd lived here for a long time.
Is there anything more beautiful than a bunch of American flags? I mean,
well, as far as I'm concerned, and you can see they also, I think this is the first time we've actually honored also the British who fought with us, and there was the field right there where they put, where they had the Union Jacks around it, and also on a bed of roses. You can see just a little bit of the corner of that. We'll show you more tomorrow, and talk to some of the people who were there, and we're just excited to be. And what impressed Pam and me, my wife, was a lot of kids were there.
oh,
And the docents were giving tours and explaining to these kids what the B-17 and what a tail gunner was, and and showing all the different aspects of that unbelievable machine that helped us win the war.
I love it. I love patriotism. I love when people love their country, and I love when people educate their kids on what history is. So I'm happy to hear that there was a lot of children.
Well, yeah, and of course they're going to be taking those flags down today. We'll do a whole feature on this because they only have them up from just Memorial Day weekend, and they ask for volunteers all the time. Could you imagine placing 26,000 of those flags around the garden
And they only do this
outside?
once a year.
Yeah, yeah, just Memorial Day.
Okay.
And so far, the local coverage has been great. I am just shocked that no national coverage has been given to that project. I've notified my friends at Fox, who I'm still ticked off with, because they didn't cover my granddaughter sending one of their teachers to the Super Bowl. Of all things, NBC Nightly News did a story on it. And but Fox didn't be bothered, apparently, even though they were carrying the Super Bowl. Hey, I'm giving you this story on a silver platter. Now all the local Charlotte stations carried it, and I'll be talking about that. Went to my granddaughter and grandson's graduation in Charlotte over the weekends when I wasn't with you on Thursday. So we were up there, and we'll tell you more about that as it gets a little closer. Meanwhile,
as we remember people that fought for our country and that died for our country, there was a 100-year-old veteran that sat down and had an interview and was talking about just the state of our country and, as he reflects what he feels about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've lived a good life. I've had a lot of happiness, smiling, telling everybody that everything was beautiful every day. If I went into my church and didn't say everything was beautiful, they'd think I was sick. And I'm not that way. I mean, I sincerely believe in this old world that everything is beautiful. I mean, if I wake up in the morning and see these plants out here and all those flowers that are in there and the green grass on the ground, that's beautiful. And people don't realize what they have. They bitch about it. They do. And then nowadays, I am so upset that the things we did and the things we fought for and the boys that died for it, it's all gone down the drain. Our country's gone to hell in a handbasket. We haven't got the country we had when I was raised. Not at all. Nobody will have the fun I had. Nobody will have the opportunity I had. It's just not the same. That's not what our boys, that's not what they died for.
Very upsetting.
Well, that's the
Listen to
truth.
them, yeah.
Looking at the society that we're having now, that's deteriorating rapidly, and now that to keep up morale in the military, our Secretary of Defense said we have to have these strip and drag shows and drag queen shows to keep up morale.
Yeah, they're full of crap.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, that's right.
I think
That's
that...
the nicest thing we can say.
Yeah. Well, and I think that one thing, Bill, is that we don't even acknowledge that people actually died for the country.
Yeah.
I think that that's a huge thing that, we need to start driving home to people. You acting like a maniac was paid for with blood.
Mm-hmm.
And I
And
think
paid for with poster paint.
and I just don't think that people live in that reality, Bill.
No, they don't. You can't buy freedom with poster paint. Coming up next.
Well, we'll be seeing why the country is going to crap right here in Atlanta.
Yeah, coming up.
At Get Real America, we are focused on Savannah, but we'd like to hear from other communities as well. We have a lot in common.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Hope you had a great Memorial Day weekend. There was certainly lots to do and lots to see.
Yes, and Bill did some great interviews at the Mighty Eights Museum yesterday, so I'm excited to see those tomorrow.
We'll have those on for you tomorrow, and some wonderful folks who were there and expressing their concern and care. We talked to a couple of veterans, as a matter of fact, and one young man who maybe hopes to be a veteran one of these days.
Well, and it was such a gloomy weekend until yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday was beautiful.
Very, very, very nice. But there is the other side to that coin on how our society is deteriorating.
Bill, what do you do when someone comes into a store and takes items?
Usually you stop them and either take the items back from them, detain them, call the police if depending on what they've taken, and hold them for the cops.
Well, let's see what Lululemon did.
Yeah.
No. Seriously. Get out.
2 Georgia women say they were fired from their jobs at Lululemon after calling police to report this robbery, which one of them caught on camera.
No, you can.
Jennifer Ferguson and Rachel Rogers describing to NBC affiliate 11 Alive Atlanta the horrifying moments the merchandise at the Peachtree Corner store was stolen.
They swiped until they couldn't hold any more product and ran out the door.
We didn't really feel very protected or know what else to do.
The women say they were fired from their jobs after they decided to call the police about the shoplifting, something they say they were told is against company policy. So what are they supposed to do instead?
You kind of clear a path for whatever they're going to do, and then after it's over, you scan a QR code.
Rogers, who says she's worked at the company for 5 years, claims that the store has been dealing with thefts for months, recalling another incident.
Someone sent me a picture of the front entrance table, and I was like, oh my gosh, we just sold all the product, good job. And they were like, no, someone just came in and stole everything.
But this was the first time she knows of someone at the store calling police, which local authorities confirm. The Fayette County Sheriff's Office says 3 men have been charged with theft by shoplifting and theft by receiving stolen property from that incident. And they're currently in the Fayette County Jail. Videos of brazen shoplifting have gone viral from stores across the country. And it's common practice for retailers to tell their employees not to intervene.
80% of retailers are experiencing violent incidents. One is to tell folks you should not be interfering or apprehending folks if you do not have the training.
And while a punishment after calling the police for shoplifting might be head-scratching to some, retail trade organizations say it might be more common than you think because some stores have relationships with law enforcement and don't want to waste resources on petty crime.
They don't want to, waste their time on what may be an entry-level shoplifting issue when they could be doing something else, because then they're not necessarily going to be as quick to respond the next time when they do need someone there.
Ferguson and Rogers say their actions led to their termination for vague reasoning.
They have a no tolerance policy.
They said because they have a zero tolerance policy.
We tried calling the store and reaching out to Lululemon's corporate offices and did not hear back. Both women now adjusting to their new lives after the April incident.
That was my sole income, so I did have to file for unemployment and use all of my savings to pay for my car payment.
It put us in a bit of a bind. My husband is self-employed, so we're trying to figure out insurance.
That's disgusting. Oh, we're not gonna. Petty crime is crime.
Not only that, when you look at it, Bill, the amount of women that work in retail versus men, what are women supposed to do?
Yeah.
And most of the people stealing items, a lot of them men.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also, I think that they should sue Lululemon for not protecting their safety.
Exactly.
I think that, we need to have some accountability from these companies that have decided that this is okay behavior and they're going to support it.
Need to start a GoFundMe account for these kids, or Go Get Money. What's the other one?
Give, Send, Go.
Give, Send, Go. Yeah, that actually stands up for real Americans, and it's just it is disgusting. What they've had. Now, they shouldn't have any trouble finding another job because there's a help wanted sign in every store that I go into.
But here's the other thing, Bill. I mean, how many companies can you actually work for that aren't woke or pushing this propaganda on everyone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the problem.
I think that's a huge issue.
But my wife and I were at Dick's Sporting Goods a couple of years ago. And all of it, we were standing there at the cash register, and all of a sudden heard this. We saw two young kids. I won't mention they were black, but two kids running out, and they hit the door. They know when they hit the door of the emergency, they swing right open. They don't have to wait for it to open up automatically. They hit the door, and they're carrying these handfuls of these leather jackets, probably $5,000 worth of jackets or more. And I ran out the door within a few seconds and didn't see him anywhere. So they might have had a car waiting on him or something to go. But I went back and the guy at the cash register was sort of nonplussed. He said, "Oh yeah, it comes 2 or 3 times a week. I know what days the security guards aren't here." And it is pathetic. And who pays for all that? You and I do, because they have to increase the price on other items in order to make up, and of course, we know talking about the woke stuff, what Target is going through right now, they've lost $1 billion. Their stock option has lost $1 billion in 3 days because of their stupid woke policies about their pride displays, or whatever the hell that is, with the LGBTQX04 M945 tilde community.
Well, it also makes me wonder, you look at a lot of these corporations now, Bill, Target, we can talk more about them tomorrow. I think there's a lot to go into there, but they're losing, I believe last I saw was $9 billion since they've decided to promote satanic LGBTQ merchandise for children. I think, are they intentionally trying to destroy all of these companies so that people have nowhere to work? I can't figure out why any company that's for profit would do this to their bottom line. Target is already on the premises, they're already on the precipice. Yeah, of going broke. Yeah, because of all of these people shoplifting. Yeah. It makes no sense.
So where are we going as far as shopping goes?
That's the thing, Bill. This is a prime opportunity for conservatives. Yes, conservatives, start a business. There's a huge opening right now. Even though we're going into hard financial times, I think this is if you are able to start a business, it gives people an alternative and places to go. There's $9 billion that's on the table right now.
And you mentioned what else are we going to do? What else are we going to do when these ladies are approached by these thugs that come in, and we may get kicked or maybe put in purgatory again from Instagram or something for calling these thugs, but. This bus driver in Charlotte did something. He pulled out his gun and shot this guy who had pulled out a gun. Now, he's been fired, of course, because you're not supposed to carry a gun on the job. Well, as the old saying goes, I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6. And for these people to lose their jobs over defending themselves, and probably in this case maybe as passengers, when this guy brandished a gun, is just pathetic. When we start punishing the good guys instead of the bad guys. In fact, we even build monuments to them. I give you George Floyd.
Well, I also think that one of the things, I can't find it, but so Target hasn't changed anything. They're still promoting books for kids that include LGBTQIA+ propaganda like Bye Bye Binary. Keep the pressure on. They hate you and your kids. Never buy another product at Target until they stop. Target's come out and said that they've pushed everything to the back. Some stores, they've taken out all of this product, but they really haven't. It's still on their website. You can still buy this propaganda. And now Walmart has gotten in the game of selling propaganda.
And of course, you still have the activists that will the ones that will come out of the woodwork. Just like if you've heard about the story about the LA Dodgers, who got a satanic group that dresses up as nuns and does the twerking thing and all of that, just making fun of religion. And it's a satanic group. They were invited initially for Memorial Day. Then, of course, when the outcry came along from the public, they disinvited them. And then when the LGBTQX04 community got involved again, they re-invited them.
Well, and do you know who was a member of that group before they stepped into the Biden administration? The nuclear specialist, non-binary, that was also arrested and is currently sitting in jail for stealing people's suitcases.
Yeah, I'm sure he will be there. Well, the president will probably pardon him for them. Whatever they go by.
Well, the U-Haul that ran into the White House, he was an illegal immigrant. They dropped all the charges. Imagine that. J6ers, they are being prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Exactly.
Someone driving a U-Haul into the White House that's an illegal
alien, yeah.
They're off scot-free, and they're probably...
Well, the Capitol Police officer that murdered Ashley Babbitt gets off scot-free. He was a person of color, by the way.
Oh, well, did you also see that they honored the Capitol Police for Memorial Day at the White House?
No, I didn't, but send up a flare.
Yeah. But,
well, for the most part, thank God for some of them, because a Bernie Sanders supporter that tried to murder all the Republicans at that baseball game a couple of years ago almost killed Steve Scalise. And it had not been for the Capitol Police being there because Scalise was a member of a chairman of a committee, so he got protection, and they were the ones who came out. So not all of them are bad.
No, but I also think that they propagate whatever, however woke the administration is. So Nancy Pelosi, one of the worst people that has done a lot of damage to our country.
Yeah, without a doubt. The one who, by the way, did not was she, along with the mayor of Washington, D.C., were the ones after the president Trump had approved bringing in more National Guards, they refused to allow them. So they wanted this to happen.
They sure did, and they've used it every step of the way.
And we have eyewitnesses from people who saw the Antifa buses rolling up, people getting off their buses and being given MAGA caps and American flags and stuff. They were the ones who rioted in the Capitol. They're the ones who should be in jail. But who is? People who are just walking around taking pictures.
Yep, and we have to go to break, but when we get back, we'll be talking about the debt ceiling fight and what that means for us.
Oh boy.
At Get Real America, We want to make sure that the real story gets out, and you can help us as a sponsor or as an advertiser to make sure that that word does get out to the community.
Be a sponsor and support your local community here at Get Real America.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living, because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was that they had come to us, because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad you're aboard with us here on this Tuesday. I keep trying to remind myself it's not Monday. Well, those Monday holidays always throw you a day off, you know?
They do, but they create a lot of work for the 4 days you have left.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, certainly do. Yeah, so that's when you get back from those vacations. You got twice as much work to do when you get back.
Yes, I remember working in corporate, and I was like, I have to fit 40 hours into these 4 days, so was it really worth taking off Monday? I don't know.
Yeah, really, no kidding.
But this debt ceiling deal, how do you feel about it? Because I know I'm unhappy.
I don't know why we have a debt ceiling if we keep increasing it all the time. Why don't they, we here in Georgia, our friends across the river in South Carolina and down the road in Florida all have balanced budgets. And look how well we're doing. Now, we do have to make some sacrifices. We may not be able to hire 200 more highway patrolmen that we need, but it's one of those sacrifices that you have to make in order to keep things in the green.
Well, and I will tell you, Bill, I don't think they do a good enough job with the budget in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
There was $1.5 million put for funding feminine hygiene products in our budget. That's crap. They also gave $13.3 million to companies like Hyundai and Kia to train people on how to work on these EVs. That's not our responsibility as taxpayers. That's a private corporation's responsibility.
Yeah.
So I am highly, highly disappointed that our budget passed this year. I do think that there are a lot of good things about Georgia, but I will say they definitely have some work to do.
Well, that's the truth. And of course, building these EVs is not exactly what I would consider one of the feathers in our cap that's going to be employing 8,400 people. I don't know where they're going to get them. They're going to have to bring them in from South Korea, I suppose, because we don't have 8,400 people that are skilled enough to do that in any capacity.
Well, there's another partnering facility that's going in to help with some of the stuff that Hyundai needs, and they need 8,100.
Yeah.
If you think that traffic is bad now, wait until that facility is built.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
At least maybe we'll have some power, because I'm glad to report that new reactor at the third nuclear reactor, we're the only state in 50 years that's built a nuclear power plant and built a nuclear reactor, and we have a third one that's now 100% ready to go and online.
And where's the location of this nuclear plant?
That's in Waynesboro, right outside Augusta.
Okay, awesome.
And the fourth one should be ready in about a year.
Awesome.
So
Love it.
at least we'll have enough power in Georgia. We'll even be selling it to Texas and California.
I'm against selling anything to California.
I am too.
Well, how about Texas?
Not real crazy about Texas because they suddenly went woke and depended on windmills, and when we needed them the most, they worked the least.
Well, and I blame the government for that, for providing so many
incentives
to do the.
And incentives means your tax money.
Exactly. So I'm against all incentives and all tax credits for people. I don't think that, you know what, if everyone's getting them, I want one too.
Thomas Edison didn't get any money from the federal government to invent the electric light. And when it came along, he didn't get any incentives to have it put in anywhere. People started realizing, oh, we don't have to buy any fuel for this thing. It works all the time, 24/7. Do you know, there was a book out just a few years ago on what, in fact, Raymond Arroyo's got a great book on Edison that just came out that's for kids, but, adults ought to read it too, on what this guy did with a fourth grade education. But back then, a fourth grade education was better than a PhD from college now.
Correct.
But at the same time, this is a guy who came up with all these visions, what the electric light did to change everything. Factories could keep working at night to make more stuff. You could play baseball or sporting events at night. You didn't have to wait when the sun goes down. It used to be, in fact, Wrigley Field up until just about 20 years ago didn't have lights. In Chicago, there was only day games for the Cubs till they put lights in.
Well, I also think if the technology is so great, guess what? Capitalism will take care of it. The market will take care of it. We don't need the government funding anything.
That's what free enterprise does. That's the great news about capitalism. And it's so great that Bernie Sanders can write a book against it and get $178,000 in profits.
Ridiculous, if you ask me. But I will say the other thing that I think is ridiculous that was happening over the weekend, which I also think is really shady, Bill. Everyone went home for the weekend, and all of a sudden we come to an agreement between Kevin McCarthy and President Joe Biden, which pains me to say that. But I think it's very suspicious that they did this deal when everyone was home. Don't love it, and I think that we have some information on that.
Yeah, we do. As a matter of fact, we got one congressman that's not in favor of it from South Carolina.
The House lawmakers who's not very enthusiastic about the tentative deal is South Carolina Republican Ralph Norman. Congressman Norman joins us now. Congressman, thank you for joining me this evening on a Sunday, the holiday weekend. On Twitter last night, you called the agreement insanity, saying it's, quote, not what we agreed to. Who is the we you're referring to?
Well, back on April 26, Nick, we presented the Senate with a bill that had 218 votes. It was common sense legislation that had work requirements. It repealed the IRS agents. It repealed the college tuition payout. It set the 24 budget at 22 levels, and it had a $1.5 trillion increase for various things in this bill, among others, that offset that. Now, what I'm hearing, and I still don't have a written copy of what's been agreed to by the Speaker, but that's not what we sent him up to do. What we were told was this bill would be the minimum that we could add cost to it. A lot of us wanted far more spending cuts than what we had. So I don't know what's in the final bill, but from what I'm hearing, it's unacceptable. I hope that it doesn't pass. I will not vote for it. If we're raising the spending debt limit to $4 trillion and putting it past the election, that's insanity. And the Democrats were fired from leading the House back last November. And Republicans to falter on this, we lose the confidence of the American people, pure and simple. And it's time to get our fiscal house in order, and this does not do it. This doesn't even take into account the debt, interest on the debt that currently stands at $32 trillion and counting.
But Congressman Norman, you understand too that the American people are nervous. They are wanting legislators to come to some type of agreement. I have to believe, though, since you posted that tweet last night, you probably have heard from a few of your constituents.
Well, people have a right to be nervous on the financial condition of America. I mean, this country is in trouble. Financial security is economic security, is national security, and we don't have it. And so, you know, just because hopefully if it's like it's purported, this bill gets voted down, all that's saying is go back to work. Now, I can't help that Janet Yellen says the doomsday will be here, that will default. She's moved it up to June 5th now. But what we sent them was the minimum. And, you know, no deal is better than a bad deal. I can't help that the president dilly-dallied for over 100 days, just didn't take it seriously. And now at the last minute, that's the oldest trick in the game. To wait to the last minute and then try to get concessions. You don't take a bad deal, but we've got to see it in writing, and hopefully it's not what has been purported.
Congressman, I have one more question for you before I let you go. What do you think should have been included in the debt package, and what should have been left out?
Nothing should be left out. This was bare minimum, Nick. I mean, like the IRS agents, like cutting $10 billion, it costs $80 billion. Work requirements. No, was raising a debt ceiling? Absolutely not.
Well, Congressman, I really do appreciate you joining us this evening. I know that for a fact we'll have more on this discussion. Congressman Norman, thank you.
And there's been a lot of talk. I will say, you know, Rand Paul being one of the most outspoken, he said, you know, with Republicans like this, why do we need Democrats?
Yeah.
He also said fake conservatives agree to fake spending cuts. Deal will increase mandatory spending, negative 5% increase in military spending, negative 3%, and maintain current non-military discretionary spending at post-COVID levels. No real cuts to see here. Conservatives have been sold out once again. I don't disagree with him.
I don't disagree with him either. And one of the things that we're so upset about over this ridiculous spending plan is that one of the promises that Kevin McCarthy made to us was that we were going to eliminate those 87,000 Internal Revenue Service agents from this budget. And so far, we haven't seen that happening.
Nope.
What we need is 87,000 border agents and maybe 87,000 less internal revenue agents.
Yeah, I think we should abolish the IRS.
Indeed.
But also Chip Roy, who is becoming one of my fast favorites as well, very outspoken. And there are Democrats complaining that they got nothing in the deal except for, you know, an uncapped debt ceiling without an expiration date worth approximately $4 trillion, and basically no cuts, a freeze at bloated 2023 spending level. And the thing, Bill,
that's because they never did enough.
Well, that's the thing. It's never enough. And the other thing is why are we still spending at pandemic levels? We should not be spending the same amount we spent in 2020, 2021, and 2023. We are no longer in a pandemic. We don't need the relief for anything. Get that money back that's not spent. There's plenty of options here.
Yeah, they were talking about, you know, getting that the COVID money back that had not been spent, that wasn't necessary in the first place. But that's one of they never have enough. If you'll notice, they never, ever have enough. They never ask if you have enough.
Exactly. Well, and our friend Steve is with us this morning, and he's like, we can't get no gains against the Uniparty. You are absolutely correct. But I recommend that you call people that represent you. In our district, it is Buddy Carter, and let him know that we're not okay with this deal. It's not good enough. Go back to the table.
Yeah, we're going to be hearing from Buddy here very shortly, too.
Yes, we are. And Bill, I think the American people have to realize that we're selling our children down the road.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we're doing. And, you know, I blame my parents for a lot of things. And you know, these generations that keep, you know, spending money, it's your children's money that you're spending.
No, it's not. It's your grandchildren's money, maybe even your great-grandchildren's money. We'll talk about that and more as Get Real America continues next.
We'll be back.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Heading down the home stretch here on this Tuesday morning. It is the 30th of May, June, day after tomorrow. Hurricane season officially starts in 48 hours.
Oh, that's very
or
exciting.
a little less, yeah.
Very exciting around here.
Yeah, boy. Always keeping your fingers crossed and praying that those storms that come along go somewhere else.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely agreed. We will be watching hurricanes this summer and through the fall. So.
We'll keep you posted.
Yes. Well, it's not all bad, right, Bill?
Mm-hmm.
It's not all bad. It's not all bad. I think that there are, some spectacular kids. I think that you have. Steve Stanton just replied and said, Buddy's 83% uniparty. I would love to see the breakdown of how you came up with 83%, but Buddy votes along party lines usually. So I do think he'll vote with Kevin McCarthy, but I do think that it's a good idea to call his office and let your voice be heard on how you feel about the debt ceiling.
Yeah, one of my best friends is Cam Huxford, who is the senior pastor at Compassion Christian Church, and he said that he was so thankful that he had the opportunity to talk with his grandkids yesterday about Memorial Day, what it's all about, honoring those who have died for our country and have the freedom that we have to worship God and to take the gospel around the world because they did. My Uncle Joe was one of them. Americans have followed in this example of Jesus and laid down their lives for their friends throughout our history. Today is the day that we say thank you, meaning Memorial Day yesterday. And that is so vital. Cam, keep up the good work because these kids aren't learning this in school. And with the young man that we're about to show you now, catered to his parents, grandparents, and whoever else. Yeah, and there is this wonderful child who's decided to make it his mission to clean the graves at the cemeteries, and if it's a veteran, he does it for free. Mm-hmm. Let's take a look.
Okay, let's get the sperm poop off. Nobody should have that dirty of a headstone.
Naveen's unusual, like his name.
Start scrubbing again.
He doesn't really think about what other people think about it.
My target age is 50 plus because they have more money and they have more busy schedules. It's very fun seeing the dirty become clean. All through my city, I got this feeling when we move. We found a grave. It was Oka Towns. We wanted to know if I was related to him, so my Nana started looking online and she figured out he was the first judge of Allegan County.
Oka's his 5-time great uncle.
Then we figured out the whole row, like this side of him, was his family, so we started cleaning their headstones.
The next one, the next one, the next one. And who else are we related to and who else needs their headstone cleaned? His grandpa helps him with the financing. He'll be cleaning a headstone for him in return for the logo.
We have a water sprayer, 2 bottles of D2. We have 3 soft bristle brushes and some jugs of water. It's very fun seeing the dirty become clean. I get to learn history about my family tree. My Nana doesn't want me to do every headstone, just like ones that I get called for.
People want their headstones cleaned and maybe can't do it, don't have the time or don't have the material. Somebody purchased that headstone for him because they believe they were worth it. He wants to keep it clean because he thinks they're worth it.
So one of the things they didn't mention in this is that he also got certified to do this. So that he knows what he can use and all of that on the gravestone so that he doesn't do any damage.
I was wondering what that device was that was next to him on that gravestone. It looked like it was a huge radio or stereo system or something in the middle of a graveyard, and it kind of interesting. But to instill something like that in this young man takes some special parenting.
Yes, and he actually does veterans' graves for free, their gravestones. So I thought that was
remarkable.
Yes, really
just remarkable.
And something coming off the Memorial Day weekend that I thought we all needed.
Well, we need to, and it's people like that, young men like that need to be absolutely put up on a pedestal. And the networks ought to be promoting people like this. The television stations or radio stations need to be promoting kids like this. So see, the good kids get the publicity instead of the bad ones all the time.
Yep, I agree, Bill. I love it. I love it. Well, you had quite the experience this weekend, didn't you?
Sure did.
Who did you get to listen to speak?
Well, I got to speak with my granddaughter, Natalie, graduated from Davidson Day School. Now, if you remember, you can go back and look it up on our podcast website, thelocalspin.com. But she and one of her friends decided that they were going to, they had a teacher they thought was really special, who I got to meet this weekend, Steve McGill. And he'd a veteran of the school, but he was one of those teachers that they said went above and beyond. He was always helping kids no matter what, whether they were his particular students or not. And of course, being a kind of a small private school, you can do more with less. But he said no matter what, no matter when, you could call Mr. McGill. He was there for you. He was helping any tutoring session, any extra help that you might need with a project or with a homework assignment or anything else. He was always there, and he was just the most popular teacher in school. Also a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan. I mean, he had all the paraphernalia, wore the feathers on his sleeve, had the jerseys, the shoes, the hoodies, the workout, everything was Philadelphia Eagles.
Die-hard fan.
From the Philadelphia area originally, as you might expect, and grew up there. So Natalie and her friend Grace decided, why don't we send him to the Super Bowl, as they were playing the Kansas City Chiefs for the Super Bowl this year. And it went from just talking about it to reality within 3 days, because they started a GoFundMe project, got about $3,000 from that, and Grace said, that's not going to be enough. Why don't we go on TikTok? And within 3 days, they had over $9,000. Got him a Super Bowl ticket. Now, they had to have a special meeting of the school council, the board of directors, because that was too much. You were supposed to have any gift to a teacher. Was only supposed to be over $50. It couldn't be over $50. $9,000 is a little more than that.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been in public school recently, you may not know that. But nevertheless, they got into the Super Bowl. She graduated this past weekend, and one of their guest speakers was a former Philadelphia Eagle, a fellow named Vince Papale, who Disney made a movie about some years back called Invincible that was number 1 at the box office for 2 weeks. Here's the trailer, starring Mark Wahlberg as Vince.
Every Sunday, millions of fans experience the power and rush of NFL football. But in 1976,
Mighty Eagles, you're killing me!
for the Philadelphia Eagles and a fan named Vince Papale,
Vince, we've had some rough times, you and me.
Oh, things are going to turn around.
it was time to do something
Welcome the new head football coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Mr. Dick Vermeil.
that had never been done before.
This coming Saturday, Philadelphia Eagles will hold open tryouts.
Now,
You got to try out this weekend. Nobody's trying out.
He's 30 years old for one thing.
the Eagles' biggest fan
So the one where Vince runs around everyone.
Oh, man, my car!
is about to take a shot at a dream.
Even if you're down there for 1 hour, you're down there.
What brings you out here? Would be an eagle, baby!
How we doing, AC? I've seen glaciers move faster.
Where'd you play your college ball? I didn't play college ball. You mind me asking you how old you are? If you don't mind me asking how old you are, Coach.
Shocking news from today's tryout. The Eagles have decided to invite one man to training camp, Philly's own Vince Papale.
In 1976,
To make this roster, you must throw away all fear.
a 30-year-old bartender
Excuse me, my name is spelled wrong.
Nothing personal. What is it really going to matter? Who played only 1 year of high school football.
You ain't going nowhere!
Tried to become the NFL's most unlikely rookie.
How am I supposed to learn all this?
Can't wear quarterback pads. You won't last a week wearing those.
Nothing personal. It's really gonna matter.
Inspired by the incredible true story.
You need to show me more than that, Polly!
This summer,
You have a story, my friend.
one man is pursuing an entire city's dreams.
Papale is not making this team, and I am not going to be the laughingstock among the owners. When I told you not to get your hopes up, didn't mean that I wasn't.
Mark Wahlberg, Greg Kinnear.
Let's go to work.
Invincible.
Well, Vince was the guest speaker at Davidson Day School's graduation ceremonies last Thursday, and it was absolutely magnificent. He had the audience in the palm of his hand, was showing all these, he was showing that and some other footage from his career, and talking about how he overcame all those obstacles and how you can do it too, and that he was hated by the players. You know, they said, you're taking this as a joke. But he showed them. He played 3 seasons in the NFL, and what a great guy. Got his autograph and his phone number, so we're going to have him on with us.
I love it. Well, and I think that there's nothing better than a good sports story. I think that sports is one of the best areas you can find those success stories and those challenges, because it's physical, it's mental, it encompasses everything. So I'm not big into sports, but you give me a sports movie like that, I'm all in.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. We'll see you tomorrow. Stay real.